Hello, this is Kanova, and welcome to my February 2021 plan with me. The theme this month is the secret garden, and I can't wait to talk about it. All right. As I said in the opening, the theme is the secret garden. And as per usual, I have pre-sketched most of what is going to be done in this video. So I keep a list of possible bullet journal spreads. Ideas come to me at different times and places, and one of the things I have to do is write them down before I forget them. Sometimes they come back to me and sometimes they don't, but I find the best thing for me to do is just to write it down. And I actually keep a spread in my bullet journal that is literally just a list of possible spreads. And this was the one that sort of excited me for the month of February. It's not particularly romantic in nature. It's not related to Black History Month. It just was the thing that sort of got me going creatively. If you don't know, The Secret Garden is based on a book. The musical is based on a book that we would probably call a YA novel because it's considered a children's book, but it's about a young girl whose parents die of cholera in India, and she is sent back to live with her uncle in England. And when she gets there, she finds that the place that she's gone to live is sort of, I guess the best way to describe it is devoid of like life and happiness. And to make a long story short, she finds out about her Aunt Lily's garden that has been basically left destitute. And she goes about the process of sort of restoring it. The whole novel is really about sort of rejuvenation and bringing life back. Once I sort of established a theme, my head was just swimming with ideas. I was listening to the score, just trying to figure out what themes and ideas and visual images I could pull to create my spread. There have been a number of films. I actually have never seen any of them, but the musical, the score is one of those I really love to listen to. So what you're seeing here is some ivy. I'm doing it in gold just to make it a little bit fancy. And it's around the gate to the garden. I chose a gate with a circle cut out in it just so I could do my traditional peek through. I really love, if this is your first time seeing my bullet journal spread, I really love things that peek through to other things, this idea of surprises behind doors. All my spreads aren't like that, but it's a common theme. I try to keep it fresh, I guess, by using different ideas, but I really felt this particular idea called out for it. I'm going over all the details in the pencil drawing with a combination of different pens. I use a Uniball gold pen to do the ivy leaves, and I'm using a metallic gel pen to create the lock to the gate, basically all the hardware on the gate. And I'm going to use the Tombow coming up in a minute to color in the gate in one of my favorite colors, green. I figured why not make the garden gate a color that I love, so I went with green. A bit of a muted green, but green nonetheless. I'm using my black pen to go in and sort of add some more details on the side. I don't know about you, but January is always exhausting. I think it's because of the holidays. We come out of the Christmas holiday. Really, once Thanksgiving comes, we are sort of riding downhill at top speed until we get to New Year's Eve. You can't get from one holiday to the next. It's so fast paced. So that by the time we get to January and we sort of get back to, I guess, a normal life, we are pretty exhausted. At least I'm pretty exhausted. But in reality, we're just ramping up for all the things that we need to sort of catch up on or get started on because we make resolutions for the new year. So I look forward to February every year. It's sort of when things really get back to normal. It's funny that it's winter and I'm choosing all these spreads with flowers and florals and garden themes. Last month's theme for January was also pretty spring inspired. I don't know, probably once we get to spring, I'll be thinking about summer and the beach, and by the time we hit August, I'll be thinking about leaves changing. The grass is always greener. So one of the things I really wanted to do, I cut a lot of paper just in general in my apartment playing around with artwork. I thought, let's see about doing this in my bullet journal. This turned out to be one of those processes that took forever to do and was extremely detailed and delicate. I don't want to say I wouldn't do it again. I just think that the planning would be maybe a little less. But I really wanted this delicate edge around the garden so that you could peek through to the rejuvenated garden underneath. I found that cutting out little bitty pieces and instead of trying to cut around and create whole large pieces that come out was the easiest thing to do. It also made for less mistakes. I've actually found most of any issues I had with it came towards the end. I think sometimes we plan and we plan, but we haven't thought through the ending process or the little details. And as you begin those details, you think, oh, I should have done that before I did this. But in the end, I think it all came together fairly well. I think that this is one of those pages that I won't visit very often. It's my cover page. So once I set it up, I don't tend to go back to it throughout the month unless I'm doing a flip through. So I'm not too worried about this getting damaged or tearing up now that I have finished the process of drawing it. Though this is very, very delicate. The bullet journal pages are not quite as thick as, say, watercolor paper, which is something I traditionally like to use if I'm cutting things up, just because it's a bit sturdier. All right, now that we have our cutout, you see I have my drawing here. I put a sheet of watercolor paper over the cutout just because my hands often are resting, and I found that it protected the cutout on the opposite page. I don't assume when I do these spreads that you're going to recreate them as they are, but maybe just take some of the ideas and use them in your own spreads. Maybe the idea of some detailed cutouts rather than doing so much of the work that went into this spread. It is my outlet though. I really love doing my spreads each month. I look forward to just being creative and sitting down for long periods of time and doing them. So as you can see, I've colored in the background. I really wanted this to feel Victorian or aged. We'll use the word vintage. So I'm going around with my Uniball and coloring everything gold. My video cut out, so I finished that process of painting everything gold around the edges, and I'm going in here just before I start adding water to the equation. I wanted to make sure that I went in and did all my coloring. You'll see later why I am painting the back of this black. All right, more cutouts. Because the page is stuck in the book, it's harder than if you were doing this on a free sheet of paper. And if you decide to do it, I would invest in different size X-Acto knives or paper cutters to help you along the way. Different tools make the job a little bit easier. While it was not the plan to leave this page plain, I really liked it when I finished with it, and I actually considered not doing these cutouts and just using the blue, white, and gold. It was really pretty to me. I might go back in a future spread and use this idea. It kind of reminded me of the wallpaper and textiles I'm so fond of. Doing these leaves proved difficult, just trying to get all the little cuts of paper to come out. I'm using my scissors. I have to invest in smaller scissors. Do you guys keep a Bujo wish list or a list of things you need? So I'm using my traditional Dutch door spread. This time I decided to do it with a paper cutter to see if it would be easier than doing it freehand. I actually found it was easier and more precise freehand. Don't know why that was, but that was my experience. So I always put a full calendar. It's a different size depending upon the month. I just need to see a full calendar without flipping back to the front of my bullet journal. It gives me a quick at a glance, but I still need a fairly large space to plan, because as we move into February, I am planning and doing a lot more. While most theaters are closed, some theaters are still having auditions, and there's always auditions, it seems, for things that are being filmed. The industry has adapted to allow us to work under these circumstances. So this is my little edge or ledge, what I'll see throughout. I did a series of these watercolors. I really wanted them to sort of look like sunsets. I only show one because there's no need. to see all of them. There were sort of two big ones and one for the ledge that I did that peeks through. I'm using a combination of my Finetec metallic watercolors and my watercolor set from Michaels. You just can't beat the color options in that for the money. So I tend to use it more than some of the more expensive sets I have. I'm also using a brush pen. I found that going in doing this detail work, it was really great, and it also helped to sort of control the water. I'm using both the water in the bowl and the water in the pen. These metallic watercolors look really beautiful on the page. I don't think that the camera does it justice. I highly recommend them. You get a quick peek at the paintings. I've added them, even though you saw me only paint one. I did two full page and then one for the ledge that I glued on. All right, time for the calligraphy. This was one of those things I decided to work on for 2021. I'm really lacking in this area. I purchased stencils, but they were too large really to use on most of my spreads. So I decided to hand write these. I think I did a pretty good job. I'm proud of myself. All right. Few last minute things. I've glued in the paintings. You'll see those in a second. I was going to use markers, but decided this aged effect was best. And that's it. Let's take a look. I'm pretty happy with how this all came together. I kept wondering if I'd gone too far or if I hadn't gone far enough, but I think it's just the right amount. And now for the flips, you see the sunset and now you see why. I'm happy how this turned out, this idea of the sun setting and creating these silhouettes where things appear black because of their positioning to the sun. I put my little card in. It's where I write the details, doctor's bills, things I need to pay, my calendar rundown. I keep my Dutch door pretty simple. I love this packages page in and out, but also adding auditions because things are getting pretty busy. My trackers and my mood tracker. I kept wanting to make this tracker much prettier, but there was so much going on. I thought, let's just keep it simple. All right. Don't forget to subscribe and like. I'll see you next month.